The Evil Within 2. The second Evil Within game helps, reveal some things that we didn't learn if you didn't play the DLC between Evil Within and Evil Within 2. But it's also a very nice, change. It answers some questions that some of us wondered about. So, Evil Within 2 basically follows the story of Detective Castellanos as after the whole Crimson Beacon incident is called on by Kidman, who is working for Mobius. Apparently, they have another problem. Another area known as Union has come under attack. Union, actually, Union's core is at threat. And Kidman figures to call in Sebastian. Of course, there's double meaning to this, because Sebastian finds out that the core of Union is his daughter, whom he thought was dead. Which means he has a reason to go in there. Of course, you shouldn't let your guard down, because Mobius is probably not going to want to let him get out of there with his daughter. And so, we begin the mission. Sebastian gets plugged in into the STEM program again and enters Union, a city which, due to all the chaos that's happening, is fractured. So, what is happening? Well, it appears that without proper vetting and all that, a very dangerous psychopath got put into Union. His name is Stefano. He too is after Lily. Actually, we find out that the reason he's after Lily is to help someone else. But of course, he also realizes what they want Lily for. And he's not necessarily about to give up Lily because, of course, he'd like that power for himself. It should also be noticed that several Mobius operatives have been sent in there, both officially and unofficially, to try and regain control. They failed, which is why Sebastian's gone in. And of course, because this is a virtual reality type thing, Union is in pieces. And we have other things roaming around. People who have become, quote, lost. As well as a creature that is like a Dementor. You hear her singing, you like, oh shit. So, what do we do? Well, of course, we have to work our way through the game, work our way through things, make progress. Sometimes, to move from area to area, we will have to use something called the hollows, I think, or the narrow. I think it's called the hollows, which doesn't make things easy, because there's also problems in there too. Of course, we also run into other things as we make progress and even have encounters with items from the first game. So, of course, it's more of the same, but I think it's a little bit easier. So, what happens? We have to work our way through some things just so we can eventually find this Stefano fellow, who is in charge, of course, he's after Lily, and of course, we find signs that Lily is moving about in Union right now. So, of course, we're trying to find her. Of course, we find that some individuals are after, we find the Stefano fellows after Lily. And this Stefano has some gruesome ideas for artwork. I mean, they're gruesome, especially in the way they're executed. But you can't necessarily knock a morbid, you know, appreciation. Of course, sometimes the trick is always getting to him. Eventually getting to, quote, Stefano. Once you eventually find him, you have to find two paintings to get by, as well as reactivating, at one point you have to reactivate a stabilizer. That's not easy. And Stefano has one hell of a big avatar that's always watching you when you're out in the town. And I do mean it's big. Thank God you don't have to fight it. Needless to say, he has a walking camera monstrosity that you have to deal with or avoid or, quote, stop just to activate one of the stabilizers. And of course, you got your goo here, your green goo that'll help you boost your abilities. And you get to craft and, expand on your weaponry. Nice. That's not tied to goo this time, which is both a plus and a minus in my book. And of course, because you are going into STEM, you have a central base that you can always access. That is, of course, your office. Where, there's certain things you can find and collect and put in your office, and also come across other, find slides that you can check in a projector. And every time you do that, you got your little kitty in the office, and he'll drop you off some goo. Lockers, too. Eventually, and you also have some side quests where you have to either, find things, complete some side quests, locate some people. One allows you to help the one team member to get out. It has a 25% success rate. But as you move, you come across, eventually as you defeat Stefano, you come across another threat. Someone that apparently Stefano was working with, but the actual truth is, this is somebody who came in probably at the same time as another individual or another group whose plan was to basically defeat and end Mobius. One of those people was Sebastian's wife. So what happens? Well, the typical happens. That's what happens. Obviously, this person had their ulterior motives for going in there, obviously. He wanted the control of Union and Lily. And he was a masterclass. Hell, he's turning people into believe, he's coming off like a cult leader. And successfully catching and transforming those who are still in Union and still alive into, quote, you know, cultists and all that. And he has become very good at manipulating things so that you can, get your, you know, get things straightened out or get things under his control so he breaks you. Of course, he also has his own stronghold, which you must get past or get into and work your way up. And of course, to add to the troubles, you have all sorts of problems there. You have to defeat more minions than that. And man, some of it gets surreal as he tries to break Sebastian. Eventually, you do have to fight your way out. And work your way into a stronghold, which requires meeting up. Someone has the item you need to do that, or can help you get the item together to do that. Once you do that and beat them, you move on back to you have to go back to a quote to the hotel, which is a bit of a base. In some ways, just so you can break through into his tower, which is surrounded by fire. You also learn about something else in the course of things. Well, there is some sort of goo-like creature that you have to get past and defeat, or just get past, which is actually an avatar of Castellanos' wife. Myra, I believe her name is. So now you have to continuously work your way through. Once you at least get in the tower, work your way up to the top and fight. Fight the nutcase, which he has taken 3 enemies from your past and decided that's who you're going to fight. The big 3 monsters from Evil Within 1. Once you are successful in defeating them, you basically kill them. But now you have one more problem. It seems you have to fight a corrupted version of Myra. So even she's not fully immune or fully safe. And once that's done, which I'm going to tell you, that was a gut punch for me to fight her because, being a widower, that was a gut punch. Of course, once you defeat her and she's with her wits, she reveals the actual truth to what is going to happen. while you would like for both of you to get out of there with your head on straight, both of you get out of there, she admits that she has to remain behind because the plan calls for it. She must stay behind so that once Sebastian and Lily are safe and out of there, all those who are part of Mobius are wiped out. See, apparently they've got all Mobius operatives have a chip in their brains that can be activated, that can be used to basically kill them. So you have to literally be careful. Or literally, they can just kill you with the push of a button. In fact, Kidman had one, but she had it removed. And that last chapter had its fun in it. Because now that you basically gotten everything, rescued Lily and have to get out of there, Nicole basically turns on Mobius, shows her true colors to Mobius, which involves kicking some butt and trying to make sure Sebastian and Lily are able to get to safety, to get out and be safe. So what do you do once you succeed in that? Well, once you get Lily, you head back to your, quote, office. That's where you're going to get out from. Meanwhile, Nicole is fighting off all the bad guys. And we have a, near, close call situation. And with it, Nicole, Sebastian, and Lily are able to escape. Mobius is apparently dead. The STEM program is kaput. However, there is something else. You can actually have a situation where if you go through, like if you watch the credits to the end and you get a brief scene in which the computer in the now abandoned Mobius area comes back to life. Which means they could have had a third adventure to be in the works. But they didn't. I don't know if that's a bad thing. Now, this is a good game series. This was a good game. It brought back some elements that, worked very well in the first one. Brought back some enemies from the first one. You could have fun basically pretending to be, or sneaking up on enemies and, killing them from behind. It was a little bit easier to do that in this one than it was in the other. It really does play more on the whole mental virtual thing. I mean, let's face it. You look up and, whoa. I mean, you're in Union and you look up and off to a direction and there's another part of Union. And if you look at underneath, look down, there's another part of Union. And of course, once things are, winding down, you have useful. You get another look at Union, all covered in what looks like snow. This was a good game. I enjoyed it. Although they did simplify some things. I mean, the green goo boosting, and of course, also red goo to help get some of those items you'd want. And repairing things, and all sorts of weapons that you could get. I mean, let's face it, one weapon you get in the game is a flamethrower, thanks to Father Theodore's cultists. You have some unnerving creatures in the game, which are not easy to beat. And some you can't beat, like that damn, I think it was called Anima. I mean, if you start hearing her hum, you're like, oh, fuck. And you literally have to, be on the silent side and hide. Although sometimes when she shows up, you have to do something that confront in a mini warp space and avoid her and find what you need to basically forward and get out of that area. And you can't destroy this thing, as far as I can tell. I don't know how that was created. Overall, this was a good game. I think it surpasses the original. In It's not as much of a mind. No, it's not much of a mind fuck as the first one was. But then again, you're not going in it necessarily blind. You're not realizing what you're in. You know what you're going into, unlike the first one where you didn't know what you were in. But, that's all I'm going to say about Evil Within 2. I think next week I'll talk about the two games as a whole, and even mention a little bit about the DLC, even though I haven't played it. But until then, I hope you all take care and have fun. Bye, all.